Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. For this tutorial, I'm going to show you how I made this. It's actually a simple design and it's really big wow factor. A white and gold and black edible gold cake. I think she is so pretty. This, you know me. There's a little touch of pale pink in there too, and I think that really sets it off. But let's go ahead and get our cake covered in buttercream, and I will link the video to where my recipe is and how I make my buttercream in the video, and I'll put a link in the description. This is an bubble-free, most of the time, bubble-free bright white buttercream, and it works great. It's an crusting American buttercream. And for this top tier, I am just doing a good coating of the buttercream and removing the excess from the top. Get it as smooth as you can and remove that lip from the top to get that sharp edge. And once you have that frosted, go ahead and pop it in your freezer for 10 minutes or your refrigerator for 20 or however long it takes to get you to the point where you're working with it again. You can just leave it in there. And the bottom tier is going to have black fondant on it, but we're going to go ahead and make sure we have enough buttercream covering the cake so that you get enough buttercream in your bite when you're eating the cake. And again, get this as smooth as you can. Don't rely on fondant to give you a clean finish. You need to make sure that your buttercream underneath is as smooth as you can get it, honestly. Because fondant tends to emphasize any mistakes, especially black fondant or the dark fondants. So go ahead and get it as smooth as you can. Just kind of mess with it. Do the little roundabout that you do when you are putting buttercream on a cake. There's a lot of spins on this turntable. They get a lot of use. And just get it where you're comfortable and where you like it. And if you need to step away from it and go back at it again and put it in your freezer for 10 minutes, take a break, and then go back to it. Because it's easier to get a crisp corner anyways when you have a firm background of firm chilled buttercream. It's easier that way. You can waste a lot of time messing with it when you can just step away and then come back to it. And then I went ahead and put that in the freezer as well. I'm going to roll out my fondant for the top of the bottom tier. I like to do my paneling method. I've been doing a lot of that lately. I don't always do this, but lately the orders that we've had and the cakes I've decided to do, I feel look better with the panel method. So we're going to show you again. So that piece up on the corner there, that's for the top, and then I'm rolling out a piece to go around the side of the cake. I have measured the height and the circumference of the cake so I know how big to cut out this piece. I always add another inch or two because you can cut it off. It's easier to cut off extra than it is to try to stretch the fondant to fit the cake, if that makes sense. And I do like to leave the fondant out when it's rolled out here for a good 15-20 minutes or so before you will put it on the cake. When you're doing the paneling method, it's fine. You don't have to worry about it ripping and tearing. It's actually better if it has firmed up a little bit. You're not going to have to worry about the elephant skin. I'm adding a little bit of shortening to attach the fondant per usual. I'll explain again. I usually explain why. I like the shortening because you have a little bit of room to play with the fondant. If you need to move it, you can. If you've attached it with water or with simple syrup or your piping gel, then you're kind of stuck where it's at. And sometimes our aim is not perfect and we need to move it a little bit. And with the shortening, you can do that. And the shortening does work its way into the fondant. There's shortening in the fondant already as a conditioning agent. I like to work in shortening in my fondant before I work with it. And it's fine. You're not going to taste it. It's just going to absorb in and it's going to adhere itself to the cake. Now wrap this around and then use a straight edge to cut off the excess like you would a piece of wallpaper. Cut straight through the two pieces and then remove the excess pieces off. Then I put it in the refrigerator to set up before I went back in and cut off that extra piece off of the top. So much easier to do it that way so there's no ripping and tearing. And then smooth it down with a fondant smoother. Now I know there's some corn starch on here, but don't worry, we're going to take care of that later. You need that to work with it. And then I cut all my straws to the same height. As you can tell, I was having a hard time getting them to go straight down. Don't know why. Might have been the filling in this one. Who knows? But we got them. then I just kind of, looks like I'm pounding them in, but I'm not. It's because it's sped up. I'm just was pushing them down as far as they go. Add a little buttercream, and then take your top tier that is chilled so you can handle it and place it on top. I like to use a board to kind of nestle it in there on the top, just kind of, push it down a little bit, and then fill it in with a little bit of buttercream. Get that gap. It's a little harder to do that when you have a darker color on the bottom and a lighter color on top, but if you have a problem, go ahead. If there's still some buttercream on the top of your bottom tier, just kind of let it set and crust over a little bit, and then you can kind of scrape it off. Now, this is how I marked out my diamond. I just roughly did the 4 corners or 4 points, and then I just drew a line in between them. Guys, it's really that easy. I am not good at straight lines. If I can do this, you can. And it's not even completely square, or whatever the word would be for a diamond. But it's okay, because you're going to have a rough edge to it. You're going to have a textured edge. It's fine. Don't overanalyze it. And this is just a mixture of gold luster dust and some Everclear. And you can see how well that goes on with the Everclear. I know people use vodka, they use lemon extract, and that's fine. But I just personally find that you get a much better first coat with the Everclear. Why did I not edit that out? Sorry, guys. I'm dizzy. I'm still trying to get used to editing on my laptop. We'll get it, I promise. So, yes, back to this. You can see how good of a first coat you get with the Everclear. That's why I go ahead and I opt to do that. It's a little bit more expensive, sure, but, some things are priceless. Your time. Time is priceless. And then once you get that painted on, you don't even have to let it dry for long, because we're going to do our edible gold leaf around the edge. And it sticks better if it's a little damp. And here is the edible gold leaf I have. I like to use the Barnabas gold, but since this was an order for work, sometimes we use the Barnabas and sometimes we use other brands. And this time we had another brand, and it works fine. But again, I am in partnership with Barnabas for a reason. I really do like it. So I'll try to add a link to that also. And I'm just using a fan brush and just kind of lifting off pieces. I didn't want to go for whole pieces of the gold. I wanted it to look more textured, and you kind of stipple it on this way, and you get kind of a little bit more of an organic look. And if you need to add a little water to your fondant and your buttercream to get it to stick, that's fine. Just do that. And your gold that you painted on is going to dry as you're doing this. So by the time you get all your gold leaf on there, you're ready to move to the next step already. This cake did not take me that long to do. Well, I'm really showing you the whole thing this time, aren't I? I don't plan out this voiceover, guys. I just kind of talk as I'm watching the video myself. So sometimes I seem surprised by what I see because I didn't realize I left that in. And here's where we're getting rid of the cornstarch. I'm just using a clothing steamer. And look how magically that works. And it's fine with the gold too. It didn't affect that. And make sure that you wipe off the condensation that ends up on your board, because you don't want your board to warp. Put it in the fridge. And now I'm using my favorite airbrush, my Kasubara's airbrush, cordless airbrush, to add some gold to the leaves. Did you know you can do this? You can use your luster dust and your Everclear combination. Make it real thin for your airbrush. It will tend to want to plug up your airbrush, no matter what. But then you just clean it out. Wipe off the needle and maybe thin down your gold paint a little bit. And just airbrush those leaves and then leave them to dry. Only takes minutes. And I always do more than I need, because you never know how many you're going to need until you're actually putting the cake together. And I hate it when I put everything away and I start putting things together. I'm like, crap, I needed more of this, that, or the other. I'm going to have to get everything out again. I hate that. So I just make more. We usually end up using them anyways. And then the flowers on this one are a combination of silk and real. We could not find these anemones. We could not get them in real. So I had some silk ones, and we just went ahead and used them and combined them with fresh little, what are these, garden roses? They have the pale pink in the centers. Don't you just love that color combination? That is so sharp. I love it. And then I have wrapped the ends or the stems of these roses with some floral tape, and I used some buttercream to attach them to the cake. And then just stick in your leaves. You can see there's a little buttercream on the end there. And just mess around with them until you get them where you want them. Don't be afraid to take things out if you don't like how it's looking. And cut them down or add a longer one, whatever you need to do. Because whatever's going on underneath all the flowers, nobody's going to see. If it's a little messy under there, nobody's going to see. What matters is the outside appearance. Then I just did a little a blush ribbon around the bottom. Since this was for an actual order, we need to finish that board. And there you go. I like it a lot. I think it's really sharp, and I hope you liked it too. Hope you got something, guys. And we will catch you on the next one.
So thank you guys so much for taking the time to watch my video. And if you'd like to watch some other videos, go ahead and click on the link to one of these other videos shown here. And if you would like to check out my other social media, I am on Facebook and Instagram under the same name, Sophisticakes by Mary. And please take the time to share, like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so that you know when I upload another video. Thank you so much, and we'll catch you on the next tutorial.